Hi everyone, welcome to the USO Podcast. My name is Ray. This podcast is about empowering all generations. And so if you love the content, please feel free to subscribe and share. And obviously the guests that I'll be interviewing are people who are empowering generations to be better. So tune in.
Hey guys, we're here with Ray from USO Clothing. Welcome to the podcast, and we're ready to have a chat about your movement, which is I absolutely love the strength and power behind the word movement with your clothing and apparel, man, and what it means, to you culturally, and obviously moving, to the wider community as well, man. So welcome, and
thanks for having me on my own podcast.
Yeah, any time. Obviously, we've worked out the clock. We wound it back to 1997 as when we first started to go to school together. Yeah. Good old Brisbane Advanced College. Brisbane Adventist College. So, man, over to you, man. Give us your spiel about USO, man, and all the movement.
Yeah, look, USO was birthed out of a time where I was feeling like I wanted to give more back to society and to the world. I just felt that I'd been impacted by other people pouring into me in terms of there are certain people in your life that is who are mentors, who have a positive voice, and people that you highly respect. And if it wasn't for their word or their advice or their counsel, you wouldn't be where you are. You probably would have gone down directions where you thought, had I listened to them, I wouldn't have done this mistake or whatnot. So it was really birthed out of that time. And so for me, when the idea came to mind, of creating a movement. I actually started with the movement first. So it also means brother to brother or sister to sister in the Samoan language, I myself being Samoan. And I'll share a little bit how, a bit of my heritage and how the brand sort of has always been there, but it hadn't come to light yet. And so I thought about what's something that I know that can impact the world. And more so, it had to impact me first, because there's no point of creating something and then it falling on its face just because for the sake of creating it. You know? I want it to be intentional. Yeah. I want it to be meaningful, and I wanted it to be where everyone in society can resonate and connect with. Yeah. And so for me, also means it's basically to be human, to be valued as a human. And so that brother to brother or sister to sister element is basically you call someone also because you care for that person. You want the best for that person. Yeah. But you also have an opportunity to speak into their life where they are not doing so well. Yeah. In terms of them making choices or decisions that you're like, you know what? As a brother, I'm going to give you this counsel. Mm-hmm. It's going to hurt, but I know it's going to be good for you in the end. And so,
Well, it's a brain and movement with substance. That's what I take from it. And I mean, we'll go back to the original USO, your father, obviously back, their culture and their heritage. So where were you actually born, and what's the whole what's the whole story look like from the beginning, man?
Yeah, so mum and dad are Samoan, both born and raised in Samoa. They migrated to New Zealand, which was the normal path of migration and living, and so they migrated to New Zealand for the better life, and so they got jobs, married, and then my sister and I were born. So we're first generation, basically Western kids. Yeah. And so growing up, we sort of had to navigate what that would look like. And probably one story that comes to mind is where most kids would have parents who could help them with English homework and, algebra and stuff like that. We didn't. Yeah. And it's not to say, please feel sorry for me. It was just like mum and dad only had a primary school education. Yeah. So for my sister and I, we had to learn, hey, how do we ask questions? Who are people that can help us? And so that sort of helped as us along the way in school. And I'll share a little bit about that. But born and raised in New Zealand, and then in 94, Dad made the decision that he wanted my sister and I to grow up in another country where there was, again, more opportunities for my sister and I. So he came over in 93 to here in Brisbane. Then in 94, my mum, my sister and I came to Brisbane. And I remember one of my first experiences living in a new country and new culture, new context was I started in school and in Ipswich, and I remember going to the Oval, and there was a guy who who befriended me, and he said, "This is an oval." And I was thinking to myself, "What's an oval? I knew what an oval was, but I didn't relate it to a field. And obviously, there was these 4 goalposts without a crossbar, and it was a sport of AFL. So for me, it was a bit of a culture shock. And so he befriended me and said, "Hey, come hang out with me." And so he showed me the ropes of like being in a new country. Obviously, I speak English. It wasn't like I didn't know to speak English.
Yeah.
But just sort of
speak
like
English in New Zealand.
Yes, they do.
Sure.
And so he took me under his wing, and I'll never forget that, because that really made me feel accepted and I felt loved, and I felt cared for, and someone thought of me. Didn't have to, but I remember how that made me feel. And when I think about it now, that really has stuck with me. That image of him befriending me stuck with me even up till now. And so for me, I always carry that with me. And when I think about the USO brand, I think about that, of people who's of significance who have poured into my life, and I've benefited from their encouragement or their counsel. And so I want to do the same for others. My father was a perfect, I can't even speak, perfect example of this. He would often do that in his workplace. Minimal English, but he was great at working with his hands. And so as I would ask questions of Dad, how he got on in work and how he got promoted, like, how do you get promoted? You don't have any formal qualifications. But Dad would often explain to me in Samoa, and he said, "Oh, son, one of the things you need to do is just work hard and be faithful to what the supervisor or your workplace asks you to do, and do it well. Number 2, love people." He says the more you love and care about people, that will come back to you in so many ways. And so for me, I was impacted by the way not only Dad would share, but I would see it. I'd see it in where we would live in our community. Dad would always go to next door neighbors and see if they needed food, and even though these people were well off, but he was always offering things.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and I said, "Man, that's kind of cool." And so I was always inspired by that, and I said, "Man, if Dad does it, I want to do what Dad does as well." So I had these significant people pour into my life, and so where I'm at now and how the movement started, dare I say, like I want to say the brand, but it is a brand, but it's a movement of looking out for people, making sure they come along with you. Because in hindsight now, those people have empowered me to do the same for others as well. So that's where the empowering generation. So the brand, the movement is USO, but the catchphrase is empowering generations. And so that has stuck with me, and it's part of who I am as a Samoan as well. Within our cultural context, we love hanging out with people. We love being with people. We love laughter. We love food. But we also love inviting people into our community and loving them how they are. And that's a big part of the movement as well, is inviting people into your community where you can empower them to do the same for others. Yeah.
Funny, man. But the recurring theme is community, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like, you had your community bubble within your Samoan culture and your heritage, and then obviously you migrate to a multicultural country like Australia is.
Yeah.
Like, so many immigrants that come here, even like with my parents' background with Europeans. Like, they all move here. We come from another country, we come to Australia, and obviously they have their own little bubbles, and they have their community groups on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But during the week, man, you're either in the workforce or at school, and you have that cross-pollination, and then beautiful things get to happen, and you, like I said, you have that, hey, I'm learning new games. You're not just playing Gang Kamoy anymore. You're
not playing Run It Straight, which is basically a game called, here's a rugby ball, run it straight to the biggest person you can find. If you survive, then your reputation is good. But, if you don't...
like on that note as well, I mean, you were, quite athletic, in school and that as well. So was sport something that you utilised, to adapt and things like that as well? You you excelled at it,
Yeah, like sport has been a part of my life since forever.
Yeah.
Obviously, some people are just gifted at picking up things very naturally. I think I was one of them. And even throughout school, playing sport, but because of the school we went to, like, it wasn't like a specialized team. Like, the soccer team was the basketball team and the volleyball team.
So accurate.
So all of us, I mean, there's
a small school.
There's a handful of us.
Of
There's only like 300 kids in our high school, which Carl and yourself and I was a part of.
Yeah.
So we became very good at adapting to different sports, and we picked up different skill sets along the way. And what I loved about our school, particularly at the time, we were all there was a handful of us who were basically immigrant children, like,
Yeah.
you know, like our parents were from
Yeah.
different countries, but we had this connectivity amongst us. It's like, we know why, or we know what it took for us to be here at this school. And so for me, I use sport as a leverage to go, well, I love it, I'm really good at it, and then how can I, and this was the difference, how can I make other people on my team better?
Yeah.
And that, again, that's something that's always stuck with me.
Yeah,
how do I help
definitely.
someone become better? How do I make my teammate better? How do I put them in a position where they can shoot the ball better? Or even in soccer, like I wasn't the greatest. I was like, I can outrun most people.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, I'm a striker. Like I remember playing soccer with you guys at our house competitions in school. I said, well, I'll defend because I know most of the time I can probably outrun someone.
Yeah.
Or I'd even go as goalie. Like I didn't know how much I would enjoy goalie.
Yeah.
Like stopping the ball.
Yeah. Oh, you
People
had
be
your
afraid.
hand-eye coordination.
That's right, hand-eye coordination.
Yeah.
I had long limbs.
Yeah.
So like I can out-jump. You know, if someone was to kick a ball for a header, I can easily out-jump someone because I had natural hops.
Yeah.
And so for me, I've always used sport as a way that, hey, how can I help other people become better?
And that was the thing, like I said, like you touched on, like there was like a whole bunch of immigrants, but just all from different countries and cultures. So it was cool.
Yeah.
We were like a multicultural USO. Like,
Yeah.
I was your Wog boy USO, and you know we had Asian USOs, and it was just how it was. Like,
It was.
Like there's one thing I hate, and that's racism. Right?
Yeah.
Like, so obviously, I love multiculturalism, and I love like stereotype is stereotype. That's what makes things funny. So it's, you know, to Europeans we find Wog things funny. To you guys, the islanders, you find that stuff funny. But like, it comes to that point, obviously, a very relevant touch point at the moment is Black Lives Matter. So, like, that alone, man, like, it's absolutely wild. Like, yes, we've experienced it at a let's call it a low-key level in Australia. To be sensitive with it. But, obviously, what's happening in America right now, like, how much more important is this whole USO movement, you know, of value in this time, like, overseas, man? Like, your brand, yes, it's localized at the moment, but it's got that,
global
international
impact,
reach, so...
Yeah. And like I just and so true, Dennis. Like, you know, the current climate in which we're all in now, it's hard to look away.
Yeah,
it's hard to ignore. Even if you don't know what to do, you still can't ignore it. And so I had a conversation with my wife, who's white Australian. Yeah, you know, and she was paralyzed. The fact that I don't know what to say, I don't know how to respond. Yet we have a ton of Black American friends who are hurting and in pain, and so we've been responding to them via social media, private messages and texts. And so for my wife, she understands it more now, and she's just allowing herself to go, okay, let me hear the stories more, let me absorb it more, because for her it's a different kind of upbringing. We go back to the school, like our school was multicultural, but we had a lot more Europeans. We had Serbs, we had Croatians, and that was the time when there was a war-torn country. Yeah. So for us, as those who came to the school who weren't Australian, but we learnt and we respected the other cultures, and so we all had this familiarity with each other. We're like, we know what it means to value each other's ethnicities. Yeah. And the cultures we bring. Obviously, there was a school choir, and our school choir was made up of all different ethnicities as well. And so that was the beauty of the environment we had, which really, I think we're really blessed in that aspect, that it gave us a more understanding of and empathy towards other people. Yeah. And I think translating that back into what's happening now, I think it's so sad what's happened with George Floyd and all the injustices that have happened. I think what it's brought out is that we are human. Like, we are human. Yeah. And it wasn't even, and obviously now Black Lives Matter because a massive portion of their race or their people are being hunted down by the hundreds, thousands even.
It's wild. Like, I had a conversation the other day as well, and I think of anybody, I think Will Smith has nailed it. Yeah, with saying, "Hey, racism isn't getting worse; it's just getting filmed.
It's just getting filmed, right?"
Damn, man, this guy's hit the nail on the head. It's like, it's about time. Yeah, that people who are racist. I think my logic is like, you need to travel more. You need to be exposed to more cultures. I think that's why you're racist, is because you're just not exposed to these elements and saying that, man, every life matters and Black Lives Matters. Like. Just get it through your head. Man. Like, what gives you the right to say I'm better than you because of my skin tone or like whatever? Like, it's wild, man.
One of the conversations that my wife and I had recently, because we got 3 daughters, a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and obviously one who's about to turn 2. Yeah. And because of everything that's happening around the world, my wife got really emotional, not upset, but just like, I'm thinking about my daughters. Like for them, they're half Pacific Islander and half white. And so at some point, someone's going to address that.
Yeah, for sure.
Someone's going to say, oh, you're not really Australian, or you're not really Samoan. And so there's a clash of identity in terms of who does she resonate with, and then how will she respond in that? Because at some point, some comment or even some look, like I think I spoke to you earlier before, like an incident. Like when my wife and I started dating, and we were dating, and I think we were at university. And for me, I'm always been aware because I can't be another color. Like it's just not going to happen. But we would often walk into the shopping malls, and obviously we're holding hands and stuff. And she'd look at me. She's like, "What's up? You're a bit agitated." It's like, "Oh, just people staring." She's like, "What? I don't see people staring." It's like because you've never had to think about it. Like,
we know.
I see it, and I see the looks. Either some are looks of disgust, or look of like they look up and down, or they look at me, then they look at her. And think, and I know exactly what they're thinking. It's like, oh, that's unusual. So then once she realized that look, oh man, she was ruthless. Like she'd be so mindful of who's looking, and she would just eyeball that person.
Yeah, just hypersensitive to
just hypersensitive. Like, don't you dare look at me. And obviously now, you know that, and that was earlier on. But that stuff still exists today. You know, in small portions of whether you know it or not. And so for her, the conversation has always been, okay, this incident with Black Lives Matter and obviously with the USO movement is about valuing people. If we value people not by their skin color but their character, as Martin Luther King would say, I said that's where the movement sticks the most, because it's going, if you're my brother, Dennis, and Carl's my brother, or whoever's my brother, I value their life, and their life is important, and I have to speak out for that life. And so where the USO movement comes into play is that you're my brother. Like I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that you're okay, and that I speak where you are unable to speak. I'm heard where you are feeling like you've been silenced. And so for me, that's really changed the way I live my life within my family, but the way that I treat others as well. Like I see when people say, I see no color. Yeah, to a certain extent, but I do see. And so even though that I'm not in that country in America, but I hear my friends, I see my friends, and I value and I stand with them. That speaks volume. And so it's a humanity issue, right? It's a humanity issue.
It definitely is, man. It's a human race, man. Like that's what it should be about. So especially after all this rubbish with and nonsense with COVID, man. Like it was just everything's in a bubble, and then it just
exploded,
man. It was just wild, man. So I think I don't think it helped the situation at all as well. But I mean, wrapping it back into it, like what we want to try to achieve, obviously, with the USO movement, what you've been doing is with your apparel. That's at the forefront. It's like, man, someone sees you wearing the USO shirt, like, man, this guy's my USO. Like, I know I can approach that guy. It's almost like a neighborhood watch. It's
literally.
Kind of that thing,
I'm
man.
telling
you want to be approached. If someone identifies like, man, that is my go-to. I know this guy's approachable. I know I can have a chat to him about what's going on. That's it.
And so the value of that is not just the brand itself, it was the message behind the brand.
Sure.
And the more that I sort of try to steer it in that direction, more people got it, right? And so earlier on when we started, we kicked off the brand. I had more like, dare I say, like white Australians buy my brand than the Islanders, you know what I mean? Simply because they would write to me, email or Instagram message and say, oh, I have a group of Samoan mates who always call me USO. And obviously they would hear it a lot. And obviously their friends would explain it to them what this term means. So then when they saw the brand, either someone tagged or they saw something on social media, they would then buy it, and then they would wear it around. And then their Islander friends would be like, where did you get that?
Where'd you get your gears?
Where'd you get your gears from, Us? And then it will be directed to the website or where it is. And so, you know, for me, it's more than a brand. It's actually a movement. It's a movement of people. Of going, how do we encourage people to look out for each other? How do we empower? Because the catchphrase really is about empowering generations. And you can see that done through obviously the stories I shared earlier. Being a kid, having someone help me out. You know, that was unbeknownst to me, that person was also to me. Like really looked out for me. Didn't have to explain to me what the culture was like. I saw it in my family, where I would often see my dad who had modeled what it looks like to look out for someone. Whether it be in his workplace, whether it be in the people that we lived in our neighborhood, or even be in church as well. I always saw that modeled happen throughout high school as well. same thing. I now began to understand, okay, how do I be an also to you?
Yeah.
How do I be also to someone else in my classmate who needs that extra bit of encouragement? And then now it's transcended into something else, into the brand itself. So,
well, you hit the money on the head with the empowering generations as well through brotherhood, mentoring, on a deep level. It's like, man, just go deeper, man. It's all about a life of substance, man. You only got so many
one
years,
shot,
man. Let's all be also together, man. So,
and I think for me, at the heart of that, Dennis, like, if someone say, what does the brand of USO look like? Like, what would it look like for you to know that it's succeeded?
Yeah.
Above obviously it'd be amazing, a marker point would be amazing if a lot of people were wearing a shirt, because I know they understand the message.
Yeah, we'll get the rock on.
That's fine, right? Yeah, that's right. That's my goal. I've got a handful of guys that are sort of lined up. One day I'm going to get them to wear the shirt, not just because it's the brand, but it's the message. But above all else, the message is that I want people to be an USO to someone. And I want them to empower generations before, after them to do the same thing. Because it means it's to be human. It means that you're actually looking out for each other in society. I think there's no better time to launch and relaunch and go, this is it.
It's one of mine, man. It's something that's just been brought to our attention again through everything going on. So that's perfect, man. So for everyone watching, watch this space.
Yeah.
Really, start buying the USO gears and buy one for your USO too.
Yeah, that's right. Please.
No worries, guys. Thank you.